late-night show written exclusively by people who don't remember 9/11. I'm your host, Ella Yurman. Tonight, we're talking about the government spying on you, gay guys driving cars, ooh, yikes. Kay is here, and of course, the ongoing collapse of mainstream media. But first, Pennsylvania Senator and 3-day-old hot dog-wearing a sweater John Fetterman said on CNN that Israel is a beacon of American values. 100%, said leftists before they realized that Fetterman meant it as a compliment. New York Governor Kathy Hochul plans to put $40 million towards fighting shoplifting. That's right, every glass case in CVS will now be in a bigger glass case. Also, it's cute that she thinks $40 million can win against huge coat pockets. A new CPR dummy has the ability to piss blood. Great. Next step, finding anyone who needs a CPR dummy that can piss blood. King Charles is seeking medical care for an enlarged prostate. Honestly, it's so British to have your prostate colonize the rest of your asshole. Condé Nast announced that Pitchfork is being folded into GQ, so not only is your local finance bro going to ghost you after one date, he's also going to be so annoying about the new Sufjan album. Iran's foreign minister explained that Iranian-backed groups won't stop launching attacks on ships in the Red Sea until the Israel-Hamas war is over. Here's an idea. A 2-sea solution. And I know just the guy for the job. Loose bolts have been found on many Boeing airplanes. Well, you have to understand that Boeing would have tried harder to make the airplanes if they were bombs. Next month, Usher is releasing his first solo album in 8 years, which means that next month, every millennial you know is raw dogging. Tesla owners in Chicago had to abandon their frozen cars last week, resulting in Tesla graveyards, making it the first time in history that it would actually be helpful for a Tesla to be on fire. New climate projections say that New York City will keep getting hotter and wetter. City residents responded, haha, and then what? This week, Oklahoma Superintendent Ryan Walters appointed Libs of TikTok creator and stochastic terrorist Chaya Ryachik to OSDE's Library Media Advisory Committee, where she'll help determine what public school students in the state should and shouldn't be allowed to read. Ryachik has no background in education, does not live in Oklahoma, and, like most TikTok celebrities, can't read. In fact, the only contributions Ryachik has ever made to a library are bomb threats. In unrelated news, the Oklahoma Pilot School Committee appointed their new head of operations, Al-Qaeda. In surveillance news, there's a controversial government spy program up for renewal by Congress in April called Section 702. It's been around since 2008, and government agencies have abused it to spy on Americans without a warrant. Here to talk about it is Late Stage's civil liberties correspondent, fresh off a visit to the FBI headquarters, Rima Parikh.
Thanks so much, Ella. Top 5 best trips of my life. You know, if the wings of the Boeing 747 MAX I was on didn't snap off like a Bratz doll's foot, I think I'd put it at top 3.
Oh my God, are you okay?
Oh, yeah. I fell straight through the ceiling in the Smithsonian so hard that it finally fixed my posture. Don't you think it's, like, way better now?
Sure. Can you tell us about those monsters at the FBI?
Absolutely. First thing I learned was that last year, sweet and gorgeous Grandpa Joe Biden signed an $886 billion defense bill, which included extending Section 702, which is a piece of the Foreign Intelligence and Surveillance Act. It's one of the last things he did in 2023.
Yeah, in addition to calling Israel from the store and asking if it wants anything.
He did that? He did that because Section 702 keeps us safe.
Wait, what?
Basically, if the government is suspicious of any non-U.S. resident, an agency like the FBI, CIA, NSA, or the National Counterterrorism Center can search through their texts, emails, phone calls, and social media messages, all without a pesky little warrant. There's also something that privacy advocates, narcs sort of like you, actually, love calling a loophole, which lets the government do backdoor searches, which is the Library of Congress's official term for when a Pentagon official gets pegged by a Raytheon employee.
Okay, isn't it also when an agency goes through an American's private communications without a warrant if they've been in contact with foreign targets?
It's a foolproof method of shutting down anything that is terrorism or sort of feels like a terrorism vibe, or maybe like isn't terrorism but could be terrorism.
That actually sounds really bad.
Wrong, it's actually really good. The government says the criteria for a foreign target is limited to someone who might have foreign intelligence information. So if you're not in contact with anyone who the American Empire wants dead, you have nothing to worry about. I mean, I have so little to hide that I'll give all of you my Gmail password. It's capital pass, lowercase word. Well,
you said you wanted to talk about how Section 702 is a post-9/11 surveillance tactic that demonizes Arab, South Asian, Middle Eastern, and Muslim American communities, just to name a few.
see, that's what I thought. I was really skeptical. I mean, no way the US government is acting in good faith when they ruin lives over baseless charges of terrorism, right? But when I got to FBI headquarters, they were actually really nice to me. They gave me a lemon water and told me I needed to go to the dermatologist, which is true. And I realized I judged them without knowing their story. You can't judge a book by its cover, and you can't judge a malicious arm of the capitalist surveillance state just because it has its meaty, stubby, spicy little fingers wrapped around your neck. All this spying on American stuff, it's a big misunderstanding.
A misunderstanding?
Yes, a misunderstanding. It's like the time I brought my rock collection to the studio and you threw them out.
By accident.
You threw out Benji, Genji, Harris, and Snake. And you said, "I'm sorry," and I said, "I'll kill you." And you said, "I didn't know about your thing with the rocks." And I said, "Everyone knows about my thing with the rocks."
I am sorry about the rocks.
But the FBI gave me my own personalized rock and told me that I am valid.
It says, bad things are good, actually. Don't worry about it.
And they proposed to me.
Is that a blood diamond?
Section 702 has helped stop international crime groups, fentanyl trafficking, and cyber attacks. And they let me have a few tries at the dunk tank.
Who is that?
They call him the Edward Snowden of Sheboygan. All I know about him is that he's always screaming and kind of annoying.
But civil liberties advocates on both sides of the aisle have pushed for Section 702 to be reformed, so that the government would need a warrant before searching through Americans' phones.
I totally get that, Ella. I'd be sensitive too if an online personality quiz had just told me I'm too closed off for love.
How did you know that?
But requiring a warrant isn't really what the government is comfortable with. And if you're advocating for violating a carefully set boundary, you are contributing to the government feeling unsafe. And they've been taking a lot of steps to feel safe. Once the government has pulled communications, they have them in a searchable database, which has been called the FBI's Google. And I love Google. That's the only place I can search Kamala Harris, amazing cop. Why are all Indian people good? Rima Parikh, and hot 2023 photos, Rima Parikh.
Okay, I'm using Google right now, and it's saying that in 2021, there were nearly 3 million FBI queries on U.S. residents through Section 702. 3 million, Rima.
Ella, you have to recognize that government entities are capable of growth. In 2022, that number went down to 119,000. The FBI changed. You've changed too. Remember that time Brandon got swooped up by a hawk and dropped into a swamp. I mean, like, really dropped into a swamp. I mean, he's flailing more than usual. And you texted LMAO to every one of Brandon's enemies, of which he has many.
I would never do that. You can't prove that I did. I don't hate gay guys. How can you possibly know that?
And I can tell you genuinely regret that now, okay? The FBI owns up to their mistakes too. Like when declassified documents show that the FBI used Section 702 to look into BLM protesters who were arrested summer 2020, they admitted there wasn't evidence for doing that. But the FBI said that the person who did that search had a lack of understanding.
A lack of understanding of what? That you're not supposed to spy on people?
Oh my God, it's not that simple. Like, yes, an NSA analyst did a backdoor search on two people they met on dating apps, but you have to do a backdoor search before a backdoor search. I mean, what if this NSA agent accidentally got dinner with a poor? Or worse, a Swiftie. And yeah, the FBI ambushed a Chinese-born physics professor in Philly at his house, rounded up his family at gunpoint, and arrested him for espionage because they thought he was leaking confidential technology to China. But the investigators, they misunderstood the emails and they said sorry. And actually, the FBI has a lot of trauma from the lawsuit the professor filed, okay? They're really acting out. And it's not fair. They did the work by hiring a better white guy who studied abroad for the job. He did. And everyone keeps talking about the time the FBI agents used the database to search two Middle Eastern men who were moving boxes labeled Drano. The witness said these guys acted very quickly. Moving Drano is supposed to be a leisurely activity. And why did they have to be so Middle Eastern while they were doing it?
But
what if they were unclogging sinks for terrorism?
But Rima, Asian American groups are worried about how this has been used to spy on Muslims, South Asians, even Asians more broadly with heightened hawkishness around China. Anyone who's perceived to be in those categories isn't safe.
The FBI took a long, grueling, taxpayer-funded work trip to Tulum to reevaluate. They made reforms, which resulted in fewer Section 702 abuses. I mean, not zero, but that's an unreasonably high standard to expect from the U.S. government. I mean, the U.S. government is just a tiny, skinny girl.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't.
Mental health matters. They realized that their actions were perceived to be harmful.
Literally were harmful.
By some sensitive losers. Sorry, people. And they made changes that I feel really strive to incorporate BIPOC and equality for amplified voices for marginal voices. There's some other stuff from the LinkedIn word generator too, but I'll find it later. So of course they had a DEI training module that reminds agents to only spy on people if they promise they're not racist. And in return, they're allowed to pick one group of people to talk shit about. I picked Polish people. They gave me a book of slurs and everything. Take that, never mind. They're also trying to learn about different perspectives. So instead of searching through random data on Tuesdays, they like to blindfold a new brown person, throw them into an unmarked van, and interrogate them about every place they've ever been and every thought they've ever had. And if none of that works, every agent pours Diet Coke over the computer so no one can do anything bad for a few hours.
The government shows you this bullshit and that's all it takes for you to sell out? I don't understand.
Oh, I'm not selling out, okay? My ancestry results show that I'm 42% FBI and 30% woman in the workplace who can do no wrong. And the rest is Italian. And once the technology is ready, I get to be cloned first. Look, Joe Biden wouldn't lead us astray. He's a Democrat. So what if he's losing more trust by the day and actively aiding genocide in Palestine? We took this photo together, okay? This is what you do with friends. A real sellout is someone who's texted her ex 6 times in the last hour and is named Ella.
Okay. That is not true.
Plus, a federal counterterrorism official mentioned that after October 7th, we really need to renew it to make sure all this Palestine stuff doesn't become a national security issue.
Rima, you literally co-wrote last episode's Palestine desk piece. How are you, out of all people, saying this is a good thing? What?
Well, Ella, I'm just worried about the anti-Semitism on college campuses.
I don't believe you.
Well, I don't know if I should believe someone who is constantly telling people that I have bad posture.
What? I am not saying that. I would not. I would never say that. Rima, what is this really about?
Okay, you got me. The government told me that if I promote Section 702 and get young people on their side, they'd let me wiretap your phone.
You're wiretapping my phone?
Oh my God, I didn't say I took them up on it. I did. There's some really juicy stuff on there for someone who's not fucking.
That's how you know all that personal stuff about me. Rima, this is private information.
Listen, nothing is personal information, okay? It's all an illusion. The government can find a way to get into our data if that is what they really want, and they will find a way to justify it. Maybe it's just easier to give in and hope for the best. If you want, protest or call your reps or whatever, that's fine. But me, if they're gonna get me anyway, I might as well get some stuff off your computer while I'm at it. I mean, Ella, have you ever given me one of these?
Rima, Parikh, everybody! We'll be right back. Welcome back. Last week, Condé Nast Traveler ranked New York City as the most walkable city in the US, but they failed to mention that it's also the least drivable. Mass transit correspondent Brandon Follick braved it all to investigate why New York City roads are so bad. Take a look.
Hello, my name is Brandon Follick, and I'm a staff writer for Late Stage Live. For this week's episode, I pitched a field piece on free transit and New York City's latest plan for congestion pricing. After Ella told me to, quote, eat shit and die, gay boy, unquote, I thought, what a better opportunity to use this new lease on life than to teach my friend and fellow staff writer Rima how to drive.
Yeah, if you want to maybe pull over so we can switch and I can try driving, I think we can do that now.
All right, you know what? I'm going to level with you. I'm actually bringing you to Manhattan. I'm specifically bringing you to south of 60th Street below Central Park, where frankly, I don't think anyone should be driving a car unless, of course, you're going to drive under the storefront of Tiffany's.
Brandon, my driving test is this weekend. You have to teach me how to drive. Also, your field piece pitch isn't even political. Ella's right, you are the people who judge a late stage.
Of course it's political, okay? New York wants to be the first city in the U.S. to implement a congestion fee, which means they're going to charge drivers a fee to drive in some of the most crowded parts of the city. They're going to depopulate the streets by 20%.
I cannot believe I'm letting a gay guy teach me how to drive.
First of all, I'm not even a guy. I feel like I'm this shell of a person. I'm like a hollowed out simulation. Plus, I think the fee is going to be great for the city. It's going to raise like $1 billion annually for the mass transit system. It's going to improve the air quality.
Oh my God, Brandon, you're on the curb. You're on the curb. Curb.
All right, I'll strike a deal with you. I'll let you drive back to Brooklyn, and I'll even let you drive on the sidewalk the entire time. Anyway, the price of the fee is still up for negotiation, and of course right now every group is trying to get an exclusion. And it's already such a mess. It's gonna make the price of the fee higher for the rest of us. It's actually so sad when you think about it. Do you mind if I smoke in here?
Why don't you teach me how to parallel park and we can call it a day?
Yeah, you can try holding the wheel.
No! Oh! No.
And I do feel bad for all the drivers coming in from New Jersey who already have to pay like a huge fucking toll to get into the city, and then they have to get charged a fee on top of that for something they've been getting for free the entire time. I would be pissed too, but they're actually so upset they're louder than the majority of New Jersey residents who are already using public transportation to commute into the city for work.
Can we at least just go to Trader Joe's or something?
And now the governor of New Jersey, Governor Murphy, is suing on environmental grounds. Like, are you kidding me? You're the governor of the state with the highest number of Superfund sites. He's suing under the National Environmental Policy Act, signed into law by famous tree hugger Richard Nixon. It's like New Jersey wants to stop it or just halt it for so long we all die by
This
them.
is dangerous. This is unsafe.
You know what? Everyone thinks it's going to be electric vehicles that's the thing that saves us, but it's not. Everyone just has to stop driving. I'm going to have a second.
Do not have a second cigarette, Brandon.
Wait, what am I even doing? I can't be driving a car. That makes me part of the problem. All right, we're gonna do the rest of the piece on foot.
No,
all right?
Brandon,
No, it's all
where are you
good.
going? Brandon, come back. No, Brandon, please come back.
Oh my God, oh no.
I'm driving.
And now, an urgent warning from Q themselves.
My God's made a neon, flickering after hours. Someday I'm gonna be one, so I drive to the desert's mouth. Meet me there, peroxide hair, flower crowns, 1,000 hands in prayer. Wild-eyed we lose our minds in time. A believer, I let it wash over me. When I close my eyelids, all I see is tangerine. I saw the neon god and oh, you made a believer of me. In your church I'm so high, I can be who you want me to be. 17 for all of time, now I'm a believer. There on the pulpit, she's gyrating, she's golden, as shrieking girls in glitter lift the Bibles of their phones. What does it mean that I wanna be her? I used to write without a reason. Is it for truth? Is it for ego? Is it for fame? Is it for freedom? Whatever it is, I know that I need it. When I close my eyelids, all I see is tangerine. I saw the neon garden. Oh, you made a believer of me. In your church I'm so high, I can be who you want me to be. 17 for all of time, now I'm a believer. This is the guitar solo, oh, guitar solo, guitar solo, guitar solo, guitar solo, guitar solo. You guys are so generous. When I close my eyelids, all I see is tangerine. I saw the neon garden. In your church I'm wild-eyed. Now that I know what I have to be, can you bring me back to life and make a believer of me?
back to Late Stage Live. Our top story tonight, social media. Is it bad for us? How is it affecting the teens? Can my TikTok connect to Wi-Fi? And what about these dang cell phones? Thomas Edison was a witch. Sorry, I went to NYU acting school for 1 semester and I do that sometimes. They're working on a cure. What I meant to say is record low trust in mainstream news media is prompting people to turn to social media for information, which is good and also bad. As we mentioned in last month's desk piece, Israel has been perpetuating abominable violence against Palestinians living in Gaza, and mainstream media institutions like the New York Times have been covering it the same way I suck dick, poorly and erratically. As a result of the up journalism, not my dick sucking, most of Gen Z has been receiving information about the genocide in Gaza via first-hand citizen reporting on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter, powerful forms of dissemination that have centered marginalized voices and allowed for the circulation of brutal truth. But social media is a complicated beast. For every citizen documented true events on TikTok, there's a man named Fishing Rod who's convinced that Shawn Mendes is the devil.
Look at this letter M closely. There is a gap right here in the letter M. It's never connected. So you go to Hebrew. The letter Ba is also number 6. Short top, long tail. Short top, long tail. You could have here in Hebrew 666.
That video actually isn't real. We made it ourselves. That guy's name isn't Fishing Rod, it's Tim, and he's a gay guy who lives in Park Slope. But you believed it was real, right? For a second, maybe? And that's a classic example of why the internet is so scary. It's hard to tell what's what. In 2022, the World Health Organization declared an infodemic. Oh, cute, like pandemic, I get it. To describe the direct and notable harm misinformation has caused to public health. More recently, pro-Israel pundits have co-opted the term misinformation to warp public perception of the atrocities in Gaza, labeling accurate online documentation of the Palestinian genocide as such. And thanks to major print and television news' failure to cover the war in an unbiased way, the tactic is working. Misinformation is everybody's favorite gal to use and abuse. And I'm jealous. I want to be thrown around by conservatives and liberals alike, but I can't because I'm chained to the desk and married to the news. I envy that Senate twink. Which, by the way, thank God for social media or we wouldn't have seen that footage, am I right? Anyway, how do we solve a problem like misinformation? And how did we get here? Americans' trust in mainstream media is currently at an all-time low, with only 32% of Americans reporting a great deal of trust in mass media, and 39% reporting that they don't trust it at all. This number dropped to below 50% in 2004 and hasn't rebounded since, probably due to the fact that Livestrong bracelets came out and everybody saw what true honesty looks like. But seriously, there have been countless events over the last 60 years that have caused huge declines in media trust, including hundreds of journalists secretly collaborating with the US government during the Cold War and leaking citizens' information directly to the CIA, or the 1968 Battle of Michigan Avenue, when Chicago police brutalized journalists and anti-war protesters, and then the Chicago mayor went on national TV and said that the reporters were anti-war plants. Or, I don't know, when People magazine named Adam Levine sexiest man alive. The Vietnam War was also a major turning point, with both sides getting mad at the news for their objective coverage. People didn't want cold, hard facts. They wanted the TV to say, "F the war," or possibly, "F the protesters." Definitely, F something. Which is what my writers scream at me when I get worked up in meetings. And then I remind them that I can't because I'm chained to the desk. And they're like, maybe try f***ing the desk. Do what you can with what you have where you are. And I'm like, don't quote Theodore Roosevelt at me in my own home. Also, I'm a bottom. So unless the desk is hiding a strap in its bag and happens to be into whiny pillow princesses, I'm shit out of luck. And then there was the Iraq War, one of the most well-documented case studies of the mainstream media screwing the pooch, by which, of course, I mean operating as the ideological propaganda arm of a hawkish Bush administration. In 2004, the Times published an apology for the way they covered the war, a move that totally worked and brought every innocent Iraqi civilian back to life. Yeah. In 2004, when you were pissed at the Times, you could go read the Chicago Tribune, or the Washington Post, or your local news. But that's not an option anymore. Since 2005, the US has lost more than 2,500 newspapers. And don't say they're right behind me. These are fake, so we don't get sued. Many things have contributed to the death of these smaller outlets, but one is predatory chains like Gannett, who bought up hundreds of local papers in the 70s when they were profitable, and then shut them down in a panic as sales began to drop. I get it. I do the same thing with fresh spinach from the grocery store every week. You buy it in a frenzy, then toss it the second it goes bad, instead of cutting it loose and letting it produce healthy, independent journalism? Or whatever the spinach equivalent is. Comment down below. The big boys have also suffered from sales go down. Papers like the Tribune and the Globe used to have their own foreign correspondents, but decreasing profits have led to sweeping layoffs across the industry, so now they no longer do. So everyone just cites the only source that still makes any money at all, the New York Times. If I say the New York Times one more time in this video, I'm pretty sure crosswords editor Will Shortz will appear and punch me in the nuts. Joke's on you, Will Shortz. I'm getting that shit removed in 12 to 14 months. Diversity of perspective is one of the major reasons journalism works, and now it's basically gone. So now people are firing up their iPads and turning to social media to fill the gaping American journalism hole, which is so awesome because social media companies are famously run by extremely trustworthy men who have been known to fill holes with caution and care. According to a 2021 Pew Research survey, more than 8 in 10 Americans now get their news from digital devices, with about 50% describing social media as their primary source of news, which again makes sense, but is bad. While the mainstream media has obvious overwhelming flaws, they're at least supposed to try to tell the truth and get things right. The only obligation social media companies have is to their shareholders and advertisers, and my aunt, who I haven't spoken to in 8 years but continues to use Facebook nonetheless. They also run on algorithms. They also run on algorithms that prioritize profit and engagement over anything else. The companies, not my aunt. My aunt uses she, her pronouns and has been in the red since 2001. Which is so powerful, but she needs to stop DMing me for money. Also, the information those algorithms show you is just wrong a lot of the time. During the 2016 presidential election, Facebook played a central role in spreading content from untrustworthy websites, which is why I spent 6 months telling everyone that it was actually Hillary Clinton who blew Monica Lewinsky. To make matters worse, recent data shows that today's youth are uniquely vulnerable to misinformation, which is bad because they're also the most engaged in online political advocacy in support of causes like a free Palestine. A 2021 study found that kids start believing in conspiracies around age 14, just 1 year after the average kid starts using social media. Another study found that 50% of 18 to 29-year-olds are almost as likely to trust information on social media sites as information from national news outlets, an all-time high, which is why I told our head writer Reid that they have to stop tweeting shit like Martha Stewart is Kristen Stewart's mom. These kids can't think that Kristen's a loaded Nepo baby. She had parents in the business, sure, but they worked as script supervisors and stage managers. She booked Twilight on her own merit, I swear. We've walked away from biased institutional news and face-planted into a new issue, zero checks and balances. Anyone can say anything these days and still garner trust just by positioning themselves against the mainstream. Alex Jones was sued into the ground, kicked off basically every major platform, and InfoWars still gets around 1 million views per broadcast. Tucker Carlson was the #1 most watched cable news show host before he got fired from Fox, even though he looked like that. And lied. A lot. Both of these shows positioned themselves as alternative options to the mainstream media, allowing them to say whatever they wanted without having them to hold themselves accountable to any kind of standard. It's an insane case of having your cake and eating it too. They get to say, we're trustworthy because we're not dirty journalists, but also we don't have to tell the truth because we're not journalists. Conservatives tend to be more susceptible to misinformation and biased reporting, especially now that Trump has turned phrases like fake news into a cool in-group dog whistle. It's like, I like your shoelaces, but for people who are wearing big furry hats on Inauguration Day. But people on the left aren't immune to the feminine wiles of factual inaccuracies either. While outlets like Grey Zone Media and the World Socialist website take refreshing far-left positions on political issues, they also publish a lot of stuff that's not true, which can be hard to catch when you agree with their arguments. It's like how I refuse to acknowledge aspartame as a carcinogen because it would require me to cut back from 4 to 3 Diet Cokes a day. Not sponsored yet. Want to send me a can with my face on it? That went really well for Budweiser. Don't Google it. Because we don't have a monolithic left-wing news source like Fox News or cool dog whistles, besides like Nevertheless She Persisted, which sucks and is deeply unnerving to dogs. It's a lot harder for young leftists to find reliable fact-check news coverage, and dogs. So we end up digging for scraps in the alternative media pile, often in the form of, comedy news shows. In 2015, 17% of liberals ranked The Daily Show with Jon Stewart as their most trusted source of information. That number might not seem so high, but again, remember, we don't have a Fox monolith, so that 17 was actually the second highest rated source of all time, after the larger category of broadcast news. So what's better, a cold, uncaring algorithm, a group of biased journalists, and a giant silver tower in Times Square, or pooling our money together to build a time machine to travel back to 2015 when The Daily Show with Jon Stewart was on the air? Trick question. The answer is me, Ella Yurman. And also, The Daily Show with Jon Stewart is coming back. They're having him host on Mondays. But the answer is still me, and this show, Late Stage Live, the only show on social media that you can trust. I'm just joshing. At the end of the day, we're just another alternative news source on the internet, beholden to algorithms without an institution holding us accountable. We do our best to meticulously fact-check inside our sources. We have multiple writers and a researcher named Katy. One of our writers has a master's in journalism, and another one has a big fat ass, which is good luck. And also something we probably need to stop saying once we get HR. At the risk of sounding like Tucker Carlson and Alex Jones, we're not a media conglomerate. We're not journalists, nor do we want to be gay frogs. Sorry. NYU training kicked back in. But they're finding a cure. We're not trying to replace big media institutions because we can't. We're just a group of sexy comedians with one particularly fat ass among us. And while we appreciate your viewership, we also can't be your sole source of news. You gotta cross-reference. You gotta read other sources and read them closely. Basically, go bibliography mode on everybody's asses. Honor those teachers that taught you MLA, APA, and Chicago style. We did that in this video. We cited the sources we had available, and some of those were the ones we just called out for being biased, but we didn't cite blindly. Our researcher gave us 24 pages of information for this episode, and we did more than just read the headlines. Did you guys know that there are words down there? Look, it's not our fault that we live in a world of low media literacy, algorithms that lie to us, and profit-driven institutions. But it is our responsibility to be diligent. Read closely. Look at multiple sources from differing perspectives. Cross-reference everything. And make sure that what you're looking at is true. Or, if that sounds hard and you don't want to do all the work yourself and you happen to be the child of an influential public figure, maybe revitalize all of local journalism. Yeah, Ella Emhoff, I'm talking directly to you. Stop knitting and start interviewing people who'd make great beat reporters. Ella's, am I right? We'll be right back. That's our show! Thank you so much to Brick, to our patrons, to Reid, Octavia, our writers, our live studio audience. Give it up! To our volunteer crew, and of course to Ella Emhoff. Good night! Hi, thanks so much for watching Late Stage Live with Ella Yurman. That's me, Ella Yurman. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, maybe even throw us a bone and share it around, or leave a comment down below if you're nasty. If you want to support our production needs and help us keep making indie, queer, leftist, late-night comedy, you can head on over to our Patreon at patreon.com/latestagelive. That's patreon.com/latestagelive. End of video.